Hello, welcome to Starcraft Observer. We are looking like we're going to have a short show for this week. Not a whole lot of news going on. We had MLG going on this past weekend, so that's primarily what we're going to talk about. My name is Ben, aka Lignar, and I have with me Tyler, aka Colgar. How you doing this week, man?
Not bad. How about yourself?
Still recovering from MLG. Had a long drive home Sunday night, but otherwise I'm doing pretty good. So, well, since we just have a short show, you want to go ahead and kick this off? Is there anything you want to get into before we get into the news?
Uh, Not that I can think of.
All right.
So, kick it off. I always love doing placings, so that's what I'm gonna do. Um, Not surprised that Life actually won MLG this in the fall championships, but what I am surprised is that yet again we only had one foreigner even breach the top 16.
Are you,
And
are you
I should be
really?
surprised.
As I say, are you really surprised by that?
Yes, I should. I feel like the foreigners have done a decent job in kind of closing the gap, the skill gap between the players, but I am surprised that it was Naniwa because you haven't really seen him do much recently.
True. Well, he did. I don't remember where. I honestly don't remember off the top of my head where he finished in Code S this past season. I think he was top 8 this last season. No, actually, I'm not. No, I'm not sure. We'll find out about that when we get later in the show. But I keep hitting the wrong button here and changing the wrong scene. Um, the one that really surprised me with Thorzane, and I know he just not had like really strong play lately, but he has been in Korea, so it's like uh, I kind of expected. Honestly, I didn't realize Stefano wasn't going to be there. I expected Stefano to do well, but
Yeah, and Stefano was at the ESCW championships in France, and yeah, he didn't do well there. And it's always surprising not to see Stefano in a tournament because you always wonder what he could have done because of his caliber.
right. Well, and the thing about Stefano not being at this one, and like I didn't do any like research or look at the roster or anything. I mean, there's some players that I knew would be there, and I'm surprised he wasn't there because he's going to be at the Lone Star Clash this coming weekend, right?
Yes.
And Austin and Dallas are only about a 2.5 hour drive apart, so I just kind of figured he would be here for MLG. And I know some of the players, like Total Biscuit, put on Twitter yesterday afternoon that some of the players just rode to Austin with him because he's going to be casting at that one. So I just kind of figured he would be there just to ease on the travel expenses.
Yeah.
Since the entirety of EG was in MLG anyway, or almost the entirety. So
But at the same time, Stefano lives in France, so you got to wonder, you know.
true,
I guess it's just kind of he could have gone to two tournaments rather than one since he's going to one anyway.
right?
I
And
don't know. Maybe EG wanted a representative in ESCW.
possibly. But I mean, that's kind of why I was surprised. I mean, I know there were a lot of people. Actually, Huck put on Twitter today, I think, that he was like he wished that he'd gotten invited to that, but it's time to go back to Korea, and the schedule really didn't allow it. But he was still kind of bummed he didn't get invited. So, it's just I don't know. It's kind of weird with Dallas and Austin aren't that far apart, and I was just kind of surprised that people that I knew were going to be at Austin weren't at MLG. It's just kind of weird, but yeah, as far as these results, and kind of like you said, I don't think it's a surprise that Life won. The way he did it was pretty cool. Um,
Well, I don't know. I guess I wanted to see Flash, the legendary Flash, win something, and it looked like he was going to with the way that he was dominating people coming through. But then Life ended up coming back through losers bracket to face him,
right,
and
and going to the extended series, yeah.
yeah, and then he ended up winning that. And it's disappointing, but I guess it's not a huge surprise. And honestly, everyone was saying how Flash doesn't play as well as he did in comparison to Brood War.
Yeah,
So
but no longer than the Kespa guys have been playing. I mean, for Flash to come into this tournament, and it's their first MLG, really. I mean, they played that Kespa Invitational in Anaheim in June, but none of the Kespa guys were at Raleigh. And then the Kespa guys showed up to this one, so it was their first MLG, and as far as I know, their first tournament of this type of structure where they don't have a decent amount of time to prepare for their opponent. They don't know who they're playing next sometimes.
yeah,
And to see these guys overall, to see the Kespa guys, like looking at the results, we've got Flash was in the third, fourth spot. SK Telecom's Rain was in the fifth through sixth. Still looking here, going down. Sue was in the 13th through 16th spot. So we've got a handful of guys from Kespa who, you know, that's 3 or 4 who are in the top 16.
Isn't Soulkey from Kespa too?
I yes, I think so. So there's a handful of guys, like a third, basically, a third or a quarter at least, of the top 16 were from Kespa, and these guys have only really been playing this game. Now, they've been playing it a little bit longer, but they've been seriously playing this game for 6 to 9 months. So to see what they're going to do after another 3 months, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see. I was really surprised, and frankly, I was amazed to see what Flash was able to do, and to see what Rain was able to do, and see what these guys were able to do, and just it was exciting to watch. I'm not gonna lie. To be there in the crowd, and the nerd chills that just went through the arena there. And I use the word arena loosely because it's a convention center, but it was pretty cool to see the way these Kespa guys and see how they performed. I was kind of disappointed that Teja didn't make it further, as well as he's been playing lately. I know he's not. I don't think he's won anything big lately, but I mean, he went out in the 7th, 8th spot, right? But still, I was kind of, and like you mentioned in the pre-show, I think it was Huang Sen you were talking about to do as well as he's done. Yeah,
it's great to finally see that because he's the guy. Back when I started watching Starcraft, he's one of the first streams I watched. Partly because he was Protoss. Second, he was just such a cool guy. He really interacted with his followers and his fans, and he's just funny, and I'm glad to see that he's done well because he does well in all the daily online tournaments for the U.S. and he always places in the top 4th, and it's good to see him go to a major event. He's always had this one stepping stone that really would have pushed him on the professional circuit, but he messed up due to nerves or something, and he did well, and I'm happy to see that.
Yeah, I'm really happy to see that. Naniwa made it to this MLG. I don't think he was. I know he wasn't in Anaheim, and I don't think he was at Raleigh. But he had a pretty solid finish here. He finished in the 9th through 12th spot, and actually said in an interview after MLG, which I actually saw him getting interviewed for this and didn't eavesdrop or anything because I didn't want to end up on camera for somebody else's show. But and I couldn't really hear what they were saying because it was in the lobby and really loud. But apparently in that interview, he said he wants to join another team. So
who said this?
Naniwa.
Ah.
And so I'm not surprised by that because I don't know that the whole independent thing is going quite as well as he had maybe hoped. And I don't know that he had hoped it would go really well. I think maybe he was trying to do the Stefano thing, even though Stefano was on a team before he joined DG. Primarily, though, I think the perception was among a lot of people Stefano was kind of an independent guy anyway. But it looks like Naniwa does want to join a team. I'm just kind of curious if he's going to get a team, and if so, what team. It's going to have to be a non-Korean team, in my opinion. I don't know of a Korean team that'll take him. Especially with, and we might be talking about this a little bit later, but some of the Korean teams, we had the Slayers drama, and there's some other things going on. We might talk about that a little bit later in the news if we get there. But I don't know. I mean, do you have any idea where he might end up? It's probably not Quantic.
Well, which teams can afford him? Which teams have been... Well, I guess what you got to look at is if a team drops a player, is it because they're getting poorer or because they just aren't happy with the person's performance, or if there's something else that's going on? So, what we're going to talk about later, Fnatic's losing some players, so maybe Fnatic will pick them up. I mean, you got all these teams that have these gigantic budgets but don't have great players, and Naniwa is a great player, so I wouldn't be surprised if he got picked up absolutely immediately. So
yeah, I wouldn't be either, but I just kind of like to speculate on, I don't think it'd be EG. I mean, they just picked up Stefano.
I don't either.
Obviously it's not going to be...
MMA just got released from his contract, so I'm assuming if that's really going to happen, they'll be picking up MMA soon. So.
Well, and there was rumor that MMA might go to Axiom too.
Yep, and
so I don't think Axiom, honestly, being kind of a young team, I don't think they could afford someone like Naniwa. And honestly, looking at the money, I'm not sure. I kind of think Naniwa should maybe go to Europe and kind of compete with Stefano to be the highest earning foreigner.
Yeah, there's something to be said for going to Korea and competing in the GSL and the fame it brings you, but it doesn't bring you the fortune if you don't win.
Right.
So, Naniwa is a player with incredible talents, and going to foreign tournaments would bode well for him, especially tournaments that you don't see a lot of Koreans in.
Right. Yeah. Totally agree. Totally agree.
He's got
Um,
the fame, now he just needs the fortune.
right. The one thing, well, actually, I will skip over that until later. I guess that's it. Unless there's, actually, you did have something else you wanted to talk about from MLG. So,
Yeah, one of our players, Flatline, went to Major League Gaming. He did uh, pretty well. He ended up losing to In Control in round two, which was he lost to him 2-1, which was kind of disappointing for him. It was disappointing for us. We he could have easily won. Don't quite know what it was, if it was nerves or some other factor, but I know that he feels like he could have beat him pretty handily. So it's kind of sad, but he ended up going through the losers bracket and went to round five, I think, round six, and he did extremely well. He
yeah,
ended up losing to Lucky Fool, who plays for Frere Infinitus.
right. And was this his first LAN tournament? I'm willing to bet it was his first MLG tournament.
Yes. His first MLG. I don't know about the LAN.
Okay. I mean, being like, and I've said on the show before, like I've played tournament poker, which a lot of the same mindset as far as being a player and the approach and analyzing the game and what your opponent's doing. It's a lot different when you go to a small tournament versus a huge tournament like MLG is, when there's how many hundreds of people? There's 260, 208 players were in the open bracket, and that's not including the people who are invited. It's a different mindset as far as poker is concerned. I'm not trying to speak for a Starcraft player, but as a poker player, you go to a tournament that's got 60 players or 65 players, 64 players, whatever, versus one that's got 600. It's a completely different mindset, totally different amount of nerves, different types of nerves, even. So to do as well as he did for his first MLG, that's actually, I think, pretty impressive and something I personally think he should be proud of.
Yeah. And did you think there's any other notable dropouts? I mean,
Um,
Huck losing a Moonglade, that was pretty surprising for me.
that was pretty surprising. I was actually kind of surprised to see uh, the Canadian and U.S. champions and the what they were both North American semifinalists, right, for the WCS. They didn't make it as far as I kind of as kind of the way I expected them to. I think it was Scarlett put on Twitter that 2/3 of the people that are going to be at the WCS in China were at this MLG. And I haven't like gone and done like a roster comparison, but the majority of them did not do well in this tournament. I mean, if 2/3 of the WCS World Championship were going to be in this tournament, you would expect odds are one of those people are going to do really well in the MLG, and I don't think they did. I don't know honestly where like Life and Leenock and Bomber are. I don't think Flash even competed in the WCS. I don't think he was playing StarCraft 2 when the WCS started. So I don't know. That to me was not. It was kind of surprising, but not really, because those folks haven't done well at MLG in the past. They've done well in WCS, but they're still high caliber players. So you see what I mean?
Hmm. What do you think about Idra? He actually made it to group play, and actually there's some drama with Destiny due to that. Remember when we talked about Destiny's State of StarCraft post on
Yes.
Team Liquid last week? Well, on Inside the Game they talked about it, and on the Good Studio, Destiny bashed Idra and In Control, saying he doesn't care about the opinions from they're two of the worst North American players in esports, which is kind of a stretch. And I agree with Idra. I was watching an interview with Idra after, and Idra did extremely well. He ended up losing a Baby Knight, which is kind of sad, but he 2-0'd Grubby, and he even said, like he shouldn't have lost the first game to Baby Knight. He was way too cocky, and that ended up costing him. But he did extremely well, made it to group play, did well in group play, and yeah, Idra has done well in the past. He's going to WCS. He placed fourth in the qualifiers. I mean, you can't really knock Idra. Sure, he's had his falls recently, and of course, In Control, not a great player, but he's what he does casting and what he does for esports is unmatched by anyone. So Destiny, I had gained a little bit of respect for him for that post. Now I lost it all again because he's being an idiot. But The guy just lives off drama, and he just loves
Right.
creating it.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't I hadn't heard that, but I might have to go check that out and see what he says. But yeah, I don't know. It's he's not somebody that, like you said, I've never really had a lot of respect for him. I do have. I don't want to say I have respect for him, but I have respect for that post he made about the casuals versus the pros and the future of StarCraft. I have respect for his opinion in that, not necessarily for him, if that makes any sense. Um, but anyway, we should probably move on. We expect it to be a short show, and we've gone one topic, and we're 20 minutes in. So,
Yep.
um, is this
Uh,
next one yours or mine?
I'll take it.
All right.
Fnatic.Rain retires. We had talked earlier. I said Fnatic, this big name team, mainly known for Counter Strike and how badly they dominate the global scene with it. They Fnatic.Rain leaves. They've got a big pocket to pay other players. Are they going to pick up Naniwa? I mean, like they're losing some players that haven't done really well. And you may know Rain from what he did in Warcraft 3, but he hasn't done anything in Starcraft 2. Another spot on the roster's opened up. I'm kind of curious who they're going to pick up.
Yeah, and I would say they're aces right now. I don't even know if they compete in the GSTL. I don't know that they have enough Koreans to do so, but I would say, looking at their roster right now, I would say they're aces as far as GSL are concerned. And they've done decently. They've not done phenomenally. Oz, who's done pretty well, and Alive. And Alive did, what was it, LPL, IPL
Four, he
4?
won.
Yeah, I couldn't. Five's the one's coming up in actually, it's like next month, like 3 weeks or something like that. IPL 5 in Vegas. Is it 5 in Vegas?
Yes, and there's actually a lot of tournaments. I'm surprised because I believe the WCS World Championships is next weekend, right? Same weekend as Lone Star Clash.
Yeah, I believe so.
So,
Which I think is kind of what Huck was talking about on Twitter when he said he kind of wished he'd have been invited, but well, but that's the thing. It's Stefano's going to go to that. He can't be at both. Stefano's going to be in the WCS. So maybe is it Thanksgiving weekend for us here in the States? I don't know. We could look it up real quick, but yeah, I mean, I guess on one side, it's kind of sad to see a player retire. Somebody who's been around for a while. I mean, he's been around since Warcraft 3, right? It's kind of sad to see a guy retire, but everybody does eventually. Hopefully, Fnatic's able to pick somebody up to take his spot. Hopefully, and like you said, Fnatic is more known for primarily Counter Strike, right?
yeah.
But their FPSs mainly, but primarily Counter Strike. They've got a few really good StarCraft players. Hopefully, they can pick some folks up and replace them. There was speculation I saw on either, I don't remember if it's TL or Reddit, that well, Fnatic's pulling out of StarCraft. They've got Alive and Oz. They're not pulling out StarCraft, and if they are, those two players are going to end up on really good teams.
I
I
mean,
suspect.
we could sit here and talk about uh, professionals esports all day, and pretty much it comes
Sure.
down to it is StarCraft is one of the only profitable games out there right now. So you don't have to worry about Fnatic, one of the most profitable teams in the world, ever pulling out of StarCraft. It's just not going to happen. At least not
Yeah.
in the near future.
Yeah, I fully agree. Fully agree. And the thing is yeah, I guess there's really not. They're not pulling out of StarCraft. I mean, there's a lot of talk about StarCraft is dead and League of Legends is pulling ahead, and and you know what? So what? Really? I mean, let's compare
Well,
that to just traditional athletics. Let's say in the states, the NFL is, as far as professional athletics is concerned, the NFL is king of the mountain right now. But that doesn't mean baseball's dead. That doesn't mean the NBA is dead. That doesn't mean the NHL is dead. I mean, all these other sports still exist, and they're still sports. They're just not football. They're basketball, hockey, whatever. Why does one team or one game being in the lead mean everything else is dead? I've never understood that about gaming culture, and I've been a gamer since I was 6, if not before. I just don't really remember before then. But I've been gaming on the Atari 2600 since the day it came out. It's I've been gaming my entire life basically, and I don't understand why this game is doing good. That means everything else is dead. I've never understood that. It happens with MMOs. It's happening in esports now. yeah, okay, so maybe League of Legends is up top, and sure, some teams who are maybe a little strapped for money, they might go towards Dota 2, or they might go towards League of Legends if they think there's more money in it for them. But I don't know. I can't see this, and again something later that we're going to talk about. I can't see that as StarCraft 2 is dead. I mean,
Well, what I find interesting about esports is that, you look at professional sports as we know them, traditional sports in the US, and no one is really a sports supporter. It's like it would be equivalent to supporting League of Legends or supporting StarCraft. And what we need more in order to make professional esports a legitimate field is we need more esports supporters, not just League of Legends supporters or StarCraft supporters. What that's going to do, I mean, you should always have your favorite game, and that's going to get sponsors wanting to get involved. But you need to have esports supporters that, we're growing and we need to grow. And if you support esports as a whole, you're supporting all these people that want to make gaming their profession.
I fully agree with you that, but there is this whole division of like I personally like I like to play League of Legends. I haven't played it in a long time, but I had fun, the times that I did play it. But I don't enjoy watching it, and that's the thing is, like you said, we don't have sports supporters. There are people who like multiple sports. Sure, I'm a big baseball fan. I love football. I couldn't care less about basketball. It's just not possible for me to care less. And but and that's possible in esports. Like I enjoy watching, even though it's kind of dead right now. But I enjoy watching Call of Duty. I suck at Call of Duty, but I enjoy watching it. I suck at StarCraft, but I enjoy watching it. I suck at League of Legends. I don't enjoy watching it. But it's like all these games. I suck at Counter Strike. Well, I haven't tried the new one yet because I'm still trying to figure out how that's going to work out. We need to do that. But um, it, I enjoy watching it. What little bit I've seen of CS:GO. I don't know that that's really possible because in the gaming world, video gaming world, we seem to build walls and build barriers, and they're artificial. They're artificial barriers, and I don't understand them. I really don't. I don't understand why somebody can't like. If you just don't find it entertaining to watch, that's one thing. But I don't understand why you have to hate League of Legends if you like StarCraft or vice versa. I don't hate
And
League of Legends.
I was talking about that Idra interview earlier, and he even talks about the Dynasty post before he, Idra's attitude. He kind of lashed back at Destiny, but he responded to the post, and yes, Blizzard is the main. Yeah, if Blizzard did something, it could really change StarCraft. But you know, it, we've been thriving without Blizzard, so it can be done without them. It's just going to be harder, and people just need to realize that right now is not a great time for people. So, and you see a lot of StarCraft players retiring, and you see a lot of change happening. But it doesn't mean that the game's dead. Doesn't mean that it necessarily that it's even dying. Just give it some time.
Oh yeah, StarCraft 2 is not dying by any stretch of the imagination. It's maybe views on YouTube are down a little bit, and people are a little less interested. But hey, here in the states anyway, I don't know about Korea, I don't know about Europe, but here in the states we've got our holiday season's coming up, and I'm not even talking about Christmas. Like in 2 weeks, week and a half, Thanksgiving is coming up, and most people in the states aren't going to be paying attention to esports. Even the target demographic of college students and excuse me and that sort of thing, they're going to be doing family stuff, and that's kind of ramping up here. And maybe it's a little early for maybe those views to be coming down, but I think part of the problem is with StarCraft in particular. We've got Heart of the Swarm coming out, and a lot of people are just like, oh, I'll wait till the expansion's out, and then I'll get back into it. I played StarCraft today for the first time in months. I didn't get on the ladder because I knew I was going to get my ass kicked, but I got back in. I played against some AI and just worked out my builds and that kind of stuff. And today was the first time in months I'd played StarCraft. I've watched a ton of it, but that doesn't mean StarCraft is dead. That doesn't mean I don't love StarCraft. That just means I haven't had time lately. And I don't know. I think worldwide, yeah, maybe League of Legends is ahead. That doesn't mean StarCraft is dead. It really doesn't. But and actually, I guess to kind of segue into that, there's been some really good competition in Code S, despite the fact, unless you had any more to say about Rain and Fnatic.
No, I'm good.
Um, despite the fact, kind of like what you put in the show notes, Code S, or should we call it Code Z? There are a lot of Zerg in Code S right now, and honestly, some of the groups that I'm looking at that have completed already, there's still two groups left to play tonight, which is November 7th. It's November 7th in Korea. It's November 6th for us, so it's going to be like early morning for us in the States. And then again on the 8th. I'm actually happy to see some of the folks make it out and kind of shocked on some of the folks that didn't make it out. But there's a lot of Zerg. I'm looking at the total numbers here, and I don't have the exact count because we still got two groups left to play. But Zerg is going to be the most populous race after this round. That's already decided, and I'm kind of curious. You and I have kind
And
of talked.
actually, this is the first time ever in GSL, which is kind
Right,
of weird.
right. And you and I have kind of talked about the kind of Zerg is OP or whatever. They say it more politically that Zerg is the most dominant race or considered the most dominant race. I'm kind of curious how where you stand on that.
Um, I guess I don't know if it's a fluke or if it's just that you look at the top tier players and they aren't representative of a race. I mean, like they play a race, but they don't represent the race as a whole. So you look at MVP, he's really good, but he doesn't represent Terrans because overall Terrans are awful. And so when you look at your previous GSL seasons, I don't think that due to the fact that the Terrans were the most populated, that means Terrans are the best race. It just means that the Terrans have the best players. So I think that the GSL now having the most Zergs that it's ever had, I think that it's kind of starting to balance out where the overpoweredness of their race is kind of working into effect.
Yeah, and I guess I'm looking at the two remaining groups. Like so far, in Group A, we've got Parting and Polt. Not a surprise that they made it out. Teja got 0-2. He went 0-2, and that was a little surprising. Not that he didn't make it out, but the fact that he didn't win a single. He didn't win a single map, and that to me is surprising. Then you've got Symbol and Hack made it out. Roro and Happy didn't. I'm not surprised about that. Curious and Soulkey made it out. Hero and Maru Prime. Maru didn't win Maru didn't win a single map. Maru Prime. That surprises me. Not that he didn't make it out, but he didn't win a single map. Liquid Hero didn't make it out. Kind of surprising. I mean, again, it goes back to what we were saying that the Kespa guys are starting to really pick this game up. Rain, actually, SK Telcom Rain forfeited, and I think it was because he was an MLG.
Yeah, he gave up his spot.
And the thing
That's one of the news. He forfeits his GSL Code S spot in favor of MLG.
right. And that kind of goes back to one of the stories is before we started the show. One of the stories that came out when they did the Kespa Invitational at MLG Anaheim, and some of the interviews that came out from Flash and Rain and I don't even remember who else. Stork was there. I don't remember the other guys that were there. There's 8 of them. That they did an interview and they asked him what it was like playing in the States, and they're like, in Korea people were much more reserved. Everybody cheers, but they're much more reserved. In the States, they let you know how they feel. If they're excited that you won, when you come out of that booth, that they're excited that you won, and it's a rush. They're like when they walk across that stage and the crowd's jumping up and down and cheering and yelling. And I don't know, maybe that's part of it. Maybe the money was part of it. Maybe he didn't think he stood a decent chance. But in that group that I'm looking at, and I'm not bashing the group that he was in, but he probably could have 2-0'd that group. With Yoda, Hyun, I guess is how you say it, and Gumio, he probably could have 2-0'd that group.
Probably. And you know what? It's funny that you mentioned the whole Korean prefer over here because there's been countless interviews where they said they really prefer the States. But when you look at footage of over in Korea, they seem to not be afraid to show emotion in Korea. But when you look at any of them like beat an opponent at MLG, they're just like casually walk across the stage, don't exactly know what to do.
Right, exactly, yeah. But I mean,
they're like, wow, these guys are crazy.
To hear that from the folks in Kespa who have until Anaheim had never played outside of Korea, and then they come and they play in front of. As far as I know, I haven't seen anything from MLG yet, but as far as I know, Anaheim was at least at that point was the largest MLG ever. I don't know about Raleigh, and I can say after having been to to Anaheim and to Dallas. The Anaheim event was larger than Dallas. To hear him say that the first time they come to the States, and they obviously dug it, right? I mean, they obviously really enjoyed that vibe they got from the crowd. So it's kind of interesting. And plus, there are, you know, with the Slayers stuff going on, there are Koreans wanting to join foreign teams. They want to come to the States more. They want to go to Europe more. And the Korean teams typically don't send them. So maybe there's something to it. Maybe this is the start of esports blowing up in the States as far as Starcraft is concerned. I don't know. But DRG and Creator Prime, MVP did not make it out of that group, which I kind of found surprising.
Yeah.
Even though Creator and DRG are not people to be trifled with, really. Excuse me again.
He did get too old by Creator, which is kind of weird.
Right. MKP and Sniper made it out. That group didn't really surprise me. But coming up is actually some good groups coming up. You got Lenok, MVP Keen, and Squirtle with Bogus. And I listed them in different order than they show up on GOM TV's website. I'm figuring Lenok and Squirtle are going to be the guys coming out of this.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next group, we got Startail Life, Baby, Vampire, and Ryung. And I'm going to have to go with Life and Ryung.
Same here.
Which means a lot of Zerg. A lot of Zerg. It's basically going to be half of the Code S. I'm just doing quick math. It's 6 to 8 of the 16 people are going to be Zerg. So I don't know. I haven't had a chance to watch any of these because a lot of them happened, while I was at MLG Dallas or getting ready to go to MLG, and I haven't had a chance to download the VODs. I definitely want to download because I've been on record saying Marine King's probably my favorite player, if not definitely one of my favorite players, if not my overall favorite player. But apparently some of the comments I've heard, like he has some amazing splits of his Marines in some of these games just to avoid some of the fungals and the storms and that kind of stuff, and I that's part of why I like watching Marine King. So I might have to download his VODs just to see that. But that kind of brings us up to, speaking of Marine King, actually, unless you had anything to add on the Code S thing.
Nope.
All right, well, that does kind of bring us up to, over the past week or so, Marine King has been posting on Reddit, which is new. As far as I know, he's not posted beyond 6 or 7 days ago. And there was a buzz around MLG because Marine King wasn't there. And I asked some of the folks around, I'm like, and I didn't look at the total pool of open bracket and everything, and I asked some of the folks, I'm like, is Marine King here? And they're like, no, Marine King's broke. And I'm like, what? And they're like, didn't you see it on Reddit? No, but not everything on Reddit's true, right? So I found it today, actually, when I got a chance, and Marine King has posted twice in the past week looking for people to come and watch Prime stream and watch and to subscribe to their channel, and offering things like if they get 2,000 subscribers that they'll enter their next GSTL match versus FXO. They're all going to come out on stage dancing to Gangnam Style and that kind of stuff. It's like there's rumor that Marine King and or the entire team is broke, and I'm like, maybe they're just realizing that there's ways to earn money other than winning tournaments and placing in tournaments. There's sponsorships involved, and they put their name out there and they get views on the stream. I mean, how does EG make money? And I'm not going to bash any of the players in there, but it's certainly not by winning a bunch of tournaments over the past year, right? Outside of maybe Stefano, when you look at the past year. Not that they've done horribly, but everybody talks about the EG curse, right? I look at this, and then I look back at the MLG roster, and there's not a single player from Prime that was at MLG. And as far as I know, since Marine King won MLG, was it Providence he won, I think. This is the first MLG championship event he's not been at. Now, granted, he played in Code S, and I, if I were in his boat, would have not played at MLG in favor of Code S. But to have no Prime players there at all on the entire lineup, in the entire bracket, seems weird. And it's just rumor. They haven't come out and said, hey, we're broke. But they're really trying to get people to buy stuff from their store. They're really trying to get people to subscribe. And I'm kind of curious because this is a comment I made to my friend's fiance. Oh, wrong button again. when we were watching a game where, or watching the tournament, where I said, I was trying to explain to him, it's like, yes, these guys' job is to win these games, but their job, for somebody who's not involved in esports, their job is basically they're NASCAR drivers. Their job is to get their sponsor's name and sponsor's logo in front of people on screen. And they do that by winning, so it's kind of secondary. But I don't know. It's now Prime is starting to do that, and Slayers just disbanded a little bit, a week or so ago, and there was drama around getting a sponsorship from Razer and that kind of stuff. So, what's your take on this? Are they broke, or are they just trying to find alternate sources of revenue?
I think that they want to become more profitable because, I mean, money's always a good thing. It even says in Marine King's post, it says, we are not looking for sponsorship. So, I mean, who in their right mind when they're broke would turn down sponsorships? Nobody. So, I think that really they just want to be more profitable, and they realized that a lot of these Korean teams are kind of sheltered, and with the whole the community over there, not necessarily. Yeah, we'll use the word community, but they realize how much more profit they could be making. That's how EG makes so much money, and all these teams are still afloat. We don't have North America doesn't have a lot of players that do extremely well, so uh, they have to make revenue another way, and that's how they're doing it. So I think that the Koreans are finally realizing how much extra money that they've been missing out on.
That's fair. That's fair. But then there was also a similar post from I don't remember, but I told you earlier before we even got on this Skype call. There's another team that just from a Korean team that just started streaming, and they're posting on Reddit trying to get people to watch. So I'm hoping that it's not teams going broke, and maybe it's Korean teams realizing that there's money to be made outside of Korea. That they don't need to just win GSL and GSTL, and that's and get sponsorships inside. And even though MKP was saying in his post that they're not looking for sponsorship, I don't know. It just seems like that's how teams live, is off of sponsorships and stream subscribers, sure, but um, I don't know. I don't think they're broke. I really don't. But it really makes you kind of wonder, with everything that's been going on lately with Slayers and Startail was the other team that was trying to get people to watch, and recently have been posting trying to get people to watch their stream and subscribe. So I don't know. I'm not saying that this is like the end of Prime and the end of Startail, but it kind of makes you wonder with stuff that's happened with Slayers lately, and some of the conversations, especially since a lot of the conversations that we've heard about between Jessica and MMA uh, and Crank primarily involving sponsorship. It really makes you wonder
Well,
what's
I
going
feel
on.
like sponsorship was the point of discussion, but it wasn't that. It wasn't because of sponsorship that it fell apart. It was because of the drama, and that Jessica was taking money from the sponsorship. It wasn't that they were losing money as a team.
Well, but we don't know that they weren't losing money either. So I mean, we don't know is what I'm saying. But no, I understand what you're saying, and I agree with what you're saying, but we don't know. Simply put, we just don't, and I don't think we ever will. But it just kind of makes you wonder, like, okay, so where are these Slayers players? Well, sorry, where are these folks from Slayers going to go? Like, there's MMA's contract expired today or yesterday. Where's he going to go? If something happens to Prime, they've got a handful of really good players. Like, and Marine King is probably their most notable. Where is he going to go if something happens to them? Where are the Startail players going to go if something happens to them? It just really makes you wonder, and I mean, and kind of like I said earlier about, is this maybe like with the Korean players wanting to join foreign teams? The conspiracy theorist in you, or in me anyway, wants to think maybe there's something going on in the esports scene, at least in the Starcraft community in Korea, that these players want out. They want to join a Western team or a European team. Maybe it's money, individual money for their own well-being. Maybe it's they see more stability in the Western teams. I don't know. I don't think the level of play, obviously, I don't even have to think. I know the level of play from the Westerners is not where it is with the Korean players. But it seems like the teams are more stable. The big name teams, anyway, like the EGs and the Complexities and the Quantics and that kind of thing. But I don't know. It's just perception. I'm not saying that that's the case, but it is perception. It really makes you wonder when basically MKP's on Reddit saying, "Give us your money, please. We need your help." I mean, and if you look at the picture that he linked, it says, "Hi Reddit, Prime needs your support." So
Well, it's not saying Prime needs your money. Just
true, true. But it just makes you wonder, right? And I'm not saying that the team is toast or anything like that. It just really makes me wonder with everything that's going on, and the sponsorships over there seem to be more Korean focused, whereas here, the teams is like look at the sponsors for EG. They sell products worldwide. It's Kingston and SanDisk. I don't even know who our other sponsors are, but they sell products worldwide. Prime, as far as I know, doesn't even have sponsors. It's just Prime. It's just a team. And maybe they have sponsorship from inside Korea that is just I don't identify with what the product is that their sponsor sells, but I don't know. It just seems suspect, and I hope really do hope that everything's okay. I would hate to see something happen to Prime. They've got some great players. They've done some great things in the GSTL, but it just I don't know. It makes me wonder. So. And apparently you have nothing to say on it.
nope.
All right. Well, I guess
I don't think we'll ever know. I guess what I'm trying to say but can't find the words for is I don't think we'll ever know what is happening with teams unless they tell us. And so speculating on a team just I don't have a lot to say on it because I know the struggles teams have because I run one of my own.
Right.
So.
Well, and that's extremely fair. Like, yeah, I'm not trying to speculate, and in the sense that I'm not trying to put words in people's mouths, but I see these things and I have to wonder, which is kind of speculating, kind of not. Just it makes me really curious. But
and plus, I'm always wary on what I say because due to the gaming community's reactions, someone might take it out of context.
Very true.
Like, I can say, like. I could say something like Prime is broke, and then someone's going to take that and make some massive post, and everyone's going to be like, what? Prime's broke?
Hey, that's what the vibe at MLG was. Like, everybody around me, when I asked them, like, is MKP even here? Have you guys seen MKP? And they're like, no, man, he's broke. He's got money problems. And you see it on Reddit? That's what the community already thinks. I mean, and it wasn't just one or two people. I talked to a few people, and that's what they all said. And, my reaction was like, oh, yeah, it was on Reddit. Of course it's true. But I don't know. That seems to be, at least in Dallas anyway, that's what the community already thinks. So I'm not saying that's the case, but part of me wonders, right? I can't just say, oh, well, they're just trying to make some money and they're not hurting. Why didn't they try to make some money beforehand? Is what I'm saying. And I'm saying it purely kind of rhetorically, but it's just they wait till now to realize that, hey, we can stream and make money, or people can subscribe to our stream. I don't know. They're smarter people than that's what I'm saying. So I don't know. It's really, again, I'm hoping everything's great, but it just makes me wonder. That's all I'm saying. But
fair enough.
That wraps up our show for this week. I guess, and I'm totally ill prepared, and I'm still half brain dead from not getting much sleep over the past 2 nights from getting back from MLG. I want to thank Tyler and Righteous Dawn Gaming, specifically Tyler, for being here on the show and reminding me, again, breaking me out of my brain dead haze and reminding me, oh shit, I got to go get ready for a show not too long before we were supposed to start. And I want to thank her screen name in Starcraft is Noodles. I want to thank her. She's not able to join us tonight. She is traveling back right now. I want to thank her for putting together the graphics and the overlays and stuff. I've not done that yet, and we're on our 9th or 10th episode now. So I want to thank her for that.
This is number 10.
This is number 10. Yeah, and I need to update. You need to remind me before we start a show to update Twitch because it still says 8. So
you know what? Just give me the info and I'll do it.
I might do that actually. But I guess that is it for me. Do you have anything you want to say before we wrap it up?
Of course, as always, thanks to eSportsNet TV, the host of this show, for sponsoring us and sponsoring our team and allowing me to be here. And we have a new sponsor, Gaming Gloves. I'd like to thank them for that. You can, if you like our Facebook page, www.facebook.com/righteousdawn, you can get 15% off a pair of gamer gloves. So they're great for, yeah, you're late, but they're great for yeah, keeping your hands warm, keeping them from being sweaty all over your keyboard. Just great gloves. So I'd pick a pair up if I were you.
Well, and I guess that actually wraps it up for this week. Don't forget to go out to our Facebook page, facebook.com/esportsnettv. Throw us a like. Get your friends to throw us a like. Once we get to 100, we're going to give away a $20 Jinx.com gift card. Your Facebook page is facebook.com/
Righteous Dawn. And we're giving away a Razor Death Adder at 500 likes. So.
All right. Yeah, I couldn't remember if it was Righteous Dawn or Righteous Dawn Gaming. So, yeah, go out and give us a like on both those sites. Get your friends to do the same thing, and maybe you're going to get some free swag out of it. So, I guess until next week, have fun. Wow, and I can't even come up with a tagline to end the show. That's pretty sad. But until next week, have fun watching some StarCraft.